and she's a very well-behaved dog. She kind of reminds me of a seeing eye dog. She's just so obedient and kind of a presence in their lives. But this pet is shared, and Sugar spends about 2.5 to 3 months a year with the people in Linfield, and they have children, and they have a cat and a few other small pets, but Sugar lives with them 2.5 months of the year, and the rest of the time Sugar lives with the other members of their family. And I think we're going to see a little bit more of that. Another consideration to bear in mind is that the concerns that people will raise when they think about how their pet is going to be, or if they choose to get a pet and they're elderly, and they think, well, will my pet outlive me? And what's going to be the ideal situation there? And I would argue in favor of that elderly person still choosing to get a pet, because there's abundant documentation that when we share our life experience with another living creature, both of us gain. And there are strategies to explore and develop to address that concern. Frequently within families there are strategies, and sometimes those strategies are centered around making a decision that when you as the pet owner passes away, you'll have that pet put to sleep. My wife and I have one dog, we have 2 dogs, but there's one dog in particular that if everyone in our family were to die in a common disaster, we would want this one dog to be put to sleep. Not because she's sickly, but because of her background. We rescued her from a shelter environment, and she's fragile, and she's thrived in our home, but I wouldn't choose to subject her to the tumult that I know she'd gone through in the past. So sometimes there's a process that needs to be taken into consideration and thought of and explored. But frequently among friends or within families, you can come up with strategies that speak to the appropriate solution in those situations.
She's giving me her cats when she goes.
Okay, well there you go. But you need to have that worked out between you. And my wife and I may change our mind on our dog Gracie, but I just know so much of her background and what she went through that I don't know whether we could trust in that she would go off into a setting that would really be appropriate. But it is a consideration. Cats, of course, are a little bit more independent, a little more adaptable to those situations. But again, sometimes you'll hear of a 17 or 18-year-old cat that is in need of a home because a pet owner passed away or was unable to care for them anymore. And it's tough for that old pet. Another thing I just would share with you that has struck me as poignant and worthy of consideration in the course of practice and in the course of having individuals who have a pet and one of the couple passes away or one of the family members is no longer there for that pet. Especially with dogs, they do grieve. And they grieve in their own subtle way. And if you're tuned into your pets, you can pick this up. But sometimes the pets really get lost in the process. And I frequently will find myself asking a client that tells me that a spouse passed away, and I'll ask if the pet had a chance to say goodbye. I don't think it's an unreasonable request to ask a funeral director to bring a pet in to say goodbye to a decedent pet owner. And I think that they need that process too. They don't wail and grieve the way we would, but they have their own way. sometimes when we have animals that we put to sleep in the hospital, a client will bring another pet that's the companion of the pet in the house so that they know what went on too. So there are these poignant considerations. Are there any questions right now? Because I want to make time available if you have thoughts or questions or stories or. Yes.
We were just wondering, we have cats, and one of mine, I cannot get her nails clipped because she's not the friendliest cat. Is there any kind of herb or something that, I mean, I don't want to take a chance of doing anything bad to her, but is there something to give her to calm her down enough to have that done?
I'm unaware of any specific herb that, because you're really asking the animal to submit to something they don't really like in the first place, and they're oftentimes fearful or panicky about it. So I'm a little old-fashioned here, but I'm more inclined to sedate an animal so that they're in a calm state of mind and they're not subjected to all of the internal hormones and fear that strikes them. And of course, the animals are more primal. They don't have that extra 8 layers of brain cells that we have. And think about us when we go to the doctor. We're scared. And we have those 8 layers of extra cells to talk ourselves into how good this is, how safe this is, how knowledgeable these professionals are. But for an animal, they're getting kind of grabbed and manhandled a little bit. So, long story short, I would argue, go ahead, have the cat tranquilized. Not anesthesia, but tranquilization. Get them cut nice and short and appropriately. And then maybe strategize around having a very textured scratching post for that cat so that going forward there'd be minimal need for trimming the nails. But it's a consideration. You may find that you can work something else out too. Sometimes with a phobic dog, I'll counsel owners to try trimming 1 nail a day or 1 nail a week, systematically get ahead of them. But of course, with an animal that's kind of phobic, you run the risk of just reinforcing those fears, and that's not an easy thing to overcome. Yes?
Sedation would have to be done by a vet or something, or
It
is
would.
this something you can buy over the counter?
No, it would have to be done by a vet.
Okay.
But you could contact your vet and ask if they could put up a pill. Could try it that way, something simple. If it's a little more, it's not that effective, the vet would probably have to reach for a narcotic drug or something. That would be the best way to handle that.
We have 3 cats.
Mhm.
One cat gets set down a plastic bag, eats the handles off the bags, actually eats them,
Yeah.
swallows them, because they come out with a stool.
Okay.
Any way of stopping them? Not
Well,
really.
Animals,
The minute you put it down, he's there.
yeah, you may want to try growing some grass or some plant material that a cat could chew on.
We've done that.
I've done that, and I got plants hanging all over the house, they eat and everything else, but
Yeah.
still.
One cat.
I'll tell you an interesting story. I spoke with a woman who, she's a veterinarian, and she worked for one of the pet food companies. And it was the pet food company that made, I think it was Shiba, that cat food that has the peel-off foil top. And she said that they went to great lengths to study the different factors that contribute to making a cat want to eat and chew on things. And she said they came to realize that cats have a primal instinct or a primal desire to want to sink their teeth into things. And they believe it's related to the primal instinct to kill a mouse, crushing the rib cage of a mouse when they finally kill the mouse after they've batted it around forever. And so I would argue that there might be some sort of a textural reason why that cat wants to do it.
Don't eat the bags, just the handles.
Now, I'll bet you dollars to donuts, these are indoor cats,
Yeah.
right?
That is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Never gets
One,
out.
one cat goes out, but those two
Yeah.
don't.
Two are indoors, one's
you
out.
know,
Never goes out.
it's a mixed blessing. Animals get hit on the road much less frequently than they used to because we have leash laws and we have responsible pet ownership and we have an abundance of indoor cats. But the downside is cats don't get to be cats as much.
Yeah.
Part of being a cat is slinking around the alley, hunting the mouse, killing the birds, you know, stalking their prey and doing the things that cats like to do, for better or worse. So I think if the cat had access to the outdoors, it probably would sink its teeth into something that would satisfy that.
I just as soon as stay in.
Right? Yeah, they bring in the ticks and everything.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah, but we leave our door open for them to get out, some of them investigate all through the garage, and then some of the porch window is open, and they go in and go through right around, and they're all over they're up on top of the refrigerator, they're on top of everything.
I live on a busy corner, and my cat is an indoor cat, and my wife and I we leave the basement door open, and my wife will frequently say, that's her backyard.
Right,
That's her
right.
outdoors.
Yeah, we figured.
And she likes going down there.
Yeah,
Keep a litter box down there and everything,
Yeah.
yeah. Besides, yeah.
one of them, yeah.
One downstairs, two upstairs.
For those of you who are cat owners, I brought some catnip mice kits for making your own catnip mouse today. And anyone who wants one, you're welcome to have one.
They're fantastic.
Did you get one of the kits for making
I've
it?
got 3 of them.
Okay.
She's got them all over the house.
Okay. I have a dear friend and a longtime client who lives in Wakefield who has a farm on Martha's Vineyard, and she grows her own catnip.
Yeah.
And she always tells me it's real good stuff. But the cats seem to give it their seal of approval.
Right.
Would the dogs take it too?
The dogs will give it a sniff, but they aren't drawn to it the way a cat is. So,
Because I have a cat and 2 dogs. But
okay.
if the cat has something, the dogs are gonna take it.
Well, I've got some dog treats too. You can take those too. Any other questions or comments or considerations? Jackie, you have any comments? You've had pets all your life and an abundant number of them.
And a variety of them too.
Yeah.
No. I can call you up and ask my questions, and usually
Yeah.
we get them answered.
Yeah.
I think something this group might be interested in is Dr. Stephanie's story.
Which story? She has several
Well,
stories.
the story that she decided to become a vet
Later in life.
later, quite a bit later in life.
One of the newest member of our veterinary team at the Animal Hospital of Winfield is a very, very talented and gifted, I'd have to say young woman, but she's not that much younger than I. Dr. Stephanie Bornswell, she